Hey everyone, Julian here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a full hard melodic trancey techno track from scratch, a style like Klangkuenstler, alignment, possession that everybody's loving right now. As usual, you can get this full track template, the entire track laid out in Ableton with the samples, MIDI, presets, and the project file. It's all available at the top of the description on my website. Definitely don't miss out, guys. This is a really great template. I really haven't seen templates this great for this style on the market that work this well, but I've really studied these tracks and put together a high quality template here for you. So don't miss out. Links at the top of the description. Definitely grab that, guys. This is the best thing you could do to level up your tracks today and get where you've been trying to get. I promise this will help each and every one of you make better tracks, and there's a ton of new stuff in this template to really get where you're trying to get. So, links at the top of the description. Thank you so much for the support, everybody, and let's dive in. Alright, so we're at 147 BPM. First thing we got here is sidechain, and then the kick. So this kick starts with our main kick. This is one of mine I made recently. I'm just cutting it at 30 hertz, cutting out the deep subs that are messy, and then also converting it to mono. And then we have our rumble, which is 2 layers. So we have this rumble, which I bounced out, and I'm just side chaining and low cutting at 58 hertz, which might seem pretty high, but honestly, it's gonna keep your track from being too woo, woo, woo. When you don't do that, I promise, if you don't do this and you go out and listen to your track in the car, or even if you try cutting your bass at 30 hertz, all of a sudden, or even on even worse club speakers, it's gonna be overpowering the rest of your track. When you do this, you're kind of evening out the bass so that it won't mess everything up, but it'll still be there because this still lets through bass. This isn't a perfect filter. It's just keeping it from being too much. And then we have this converting it to mono. And then what we're doing is we have a layer of that same thing where we're band passing it first, distorting it with pedal, side chaining, high pass, and then convert to mono. Especially because a lot of times this high pass can mess up the phase with the Ableton EQ8. And then we just have a high pass which comes in at a few different times, like the intro and stuff like that for transitions. Then we have our main drums. So we got a hi-hat, where we layered together this one, and then this one, which you can see has a lot of punch. To make one hi-hat, these have the same EQ on them, which is basically just automating a bit and cutting out the lows. For the snare, we have this nice punchy snare sample. Going through a bunch of reverb, and we're high passing it. The reverb goes well with this groove. To just hit that boom. We have a ride as well. This is one of mine from my Ultimate Ride pack. Side chaining it. And then we have some rolls, right? Kind of like the textured percussion. This stuff is really important, but you need that foundation first that I just showed you. You want to make all that stuff, and then this stuff will really add to it. So it starts with this. We have this Rave loop. This is one of mine from my hard techno drum library. And I'm taking just the highs. It's almost like a shaker, right? Then we have this one, kind of in the mid-range. You can see those two fit together. Plus this one, which is even lower mid-range. And they create this nice groove. Then we have this. So what this is it's this drum rack here from Ableton. Right? Just creating that. We're high passing it. Distorting, which is really where you get that great texture. Delay. Another high pass because the distortion can add. And then a low pass, which is moving throughout, so you get this constantly moving. And that's part of this. It gives you an element where you have these, which are just completely static. And then this thing where you can see if we move around the track, it's always changing and it's always different. On the group of all that, we just have a high pass filter as well as, yeah, that automates kind of like a low pass down. Plus, we're side chaining it. So once you have all that stuff out of the way, then you can move on to the synths. Starting with this Reese bass here. So this is kind of like the chord progression, right? I always start with this. Once you have the drum groove, you just want to get like... that all sounding really good, right? So this is playing, we're in the key of A minor. So what we're doing is this is going root note, 5th, 6th, 4th. It's actually almost like a progression you might hear in like deep house or something. But it goes really nicely with this. It just gives you this like kind of great chord sequence for all this other stuff to sit on top of. And you can see it also plays well with the rumble too. You got to make sure. And so for the actual sound, the way that you make that work with the rumble is you make the sound like this. So we got a saw wave here. We got another saw wave detuned a bunch but turned down a little. Plus we have the sub oscillator with the tone up. So it's kind of like adding like a square wave basically. And then we have this shimmer unison with the voices all the way up but low amount. Plus we're automating the low pass throughout the track, right? Just bringing this in. Then we're distorting it. So that's the first thing that's going to make this fit better in the mix because you're kind of focusing it more to the mid-range. Right? Which is really what you want to make this work with the rumble. This needs to be more focused in the like higher mids. So that's what the distortion does. Then we're going to high pass it, of course. That's really going to make it work with the rumble. We have another low pass, which just brings it in and out. And then we're side chaining it. And if you side chain it pretty heavy like this, it'll work with the kick. As long as you high pass it, make it mid-range focused, and side chain it, this will all work. Then we have the first lead. So this is changing with the bass. What we're doing is we're in the key of A minor. So we're actually just kind of walking up the scale. We're going root note, 9th, minor 3rd, 5th, and then down here, we're using a 6th and a 4th. And then it's that rhythm. It's the dun 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 dun, like super trancy. And you'll notice the notes are very staccato. They don't touch each other. That's how you get that. Because as soon as we make those, see when they touch each other, you don't get that kind of like gated effect. Then for the actual sound, it's made with wavetable. It's just a saw wave with a low pass filter, which is being automated. But there's an envelope on the low pass, so you kind of get it like still pretty open. It's just slightly different when we automate it. We have a noise unison, a bit of delay, side chain, and then a high pass filter, and that's really it. It's a simple sound. You know, I think when you hear that, you might wonder, oh, how did I do the gate sound? Well, it's really just in the MIDI. It's not that complicated. Then we have this ARP. So this is a really chill, simple ARP. It's literally just A across 2 different octaves. Playing a bunch of 16th notes, right? It just gives you something that'll fit really well over the Reese without kind of like taking up the same space. For the intro and outro to keep it moving. It's just a saw wave with the warp up and a low pass filter which has got a lot of automation, right? It's never in the same place twice, and there's an envelope on that. We have this auto pan here, so here's without that. With it you can see it just makes it tight 16th notes. A bit of delay, which also has some automation here to make it kind of disappear. A bit of overdrive, which you can see really brings out the mid-range, side chain, and then a high-pass filter with a bit of automation. Then we have this lead here. So this is really like a droning lead, right? It's actually pretty simple. It's mainly focused around A. You can see this one's also got the notes where they don't touch each other. And then what we're doing is it's really just A and then A up an octave, but then we're bouncing up to the 5th and the 6th And then here we use the fourth. But it's kind of like that concept of like the simple droning lead with the nice chord progression. And it's all going to come together really nicely. This is made with 2 layers. We have this like sine wave combined with the saw wave with a bunch of unison. And the amp envelopes like that. And then we have this one, which is almost the same thing, but there's a bit of an LFO on the pulse width of the sine wave. And this has no unison. So you get this like very full sound like this. And then we have a bit of EQ, just cutting out some mud, a bit of reverb, an amp here, which really brings this to life texturally. A delay, high pass again after the amp, sidechain, and then a low pass, which brings it in and out. And then the last layer of synths down here is this little pad thing. So this is meant to just be something that's just in the intro to kind of bring it through, you know, give it something ethereal, and also kind of like just disappear. And then you can see it doesn't play in the outro, so it's like kind of something that's only in one part of the track, right? Now this is the same 3 voices we were working with the lead. It's just the root note, the 5th, and the 6th across different octaves, right? It's this wavetable patch. So here's what it sounds like without any of the effects. Right, it's this transformations wavetable with the square wave. And there's an LFO on the oscillator position plus some unison. And we're using echo and reverb to kind of turn it into a pad, right? High passing it. This is a great technique though. Like if you have notes that you know work in a key like this, and you put them into a bunch of echo and reverb, you can create like a great pad out of that. Sidechain, and then a low pass to bring it in and out. And then we have the effects, starting with these 2 analog patches. So these are kind of like these like sort of pitched saw wave things. It's literally just one note, and what we're doing is it's with analog where you have the 2 different oscillators, and we're automating the detune on the first oscillator. That's the secret. You have one which is staying at the same tuning, and then one which is pitching down against that, and that's how you're getting that cool kind of pitch effect that's not just like a basic pitch wheel. So we have that just automating, and then we have a low pass filter also, which sometimes I was playing with. We got a bit of vibrato and unison, a bunch of reverb, high pass, and then a sidechain. And then on the second one, it's actually the same patch. And it's the same concept, but it's kind of designed to work at a lower pitch better. So this one, same thing. It's like the detune just being automated on one of these. You see, I really like how this is like right at the intro. It's just something to start the track off. Really solid. So we're doing that. There's a low pass which automates in, right, like that. Vibrato, unison. Then we have some distortion, which you can see here's without it. With it. So with these low ones, this works better. That's why I wanted to have this like separate from the other one. Then we just have reverb, high pass filter, which also you want to automate to really get that like kind of like ripping effect, right? And then we just have it being sidechain. And then we just have a few other effects. These are mainly just audio effects from my track specs pack. Right, you really don't want too many of these with this kind of a track. That's the thing. But it's like just enough to where every time you need something like there where it would be a little bit empty, you have something. But it's not just like unnecessary effects like EDM or something like that. It's like just enough. And they're very subtle like that. And yeah, so that's me for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, the entire full track template, everything you need to make an awesome, full, hard, melodic, trance, techno track like this from scratch. It's all available at the top of the description. Really, don't miss out, guys. This is a great template, something that'll really take your tracks to the next level. Today, I look forward to hearing this and all you guys' tracks. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.